Welcome, everybody. First, thank you for showing up. Before we begin, I like to ask if there's a question that you want to have an answer to, because I want to make sure that you get that. So I always open with that. Does anybody have a question about anything at all? I'm going to go over this week with you. So hopefully any questions you have will be answered.
The O'Reilly books that you've mentioned for us, because I've never had them dealt with in creative writing, how how impactful are these books for us in terms of the class?
It will only help you.
So they're
Does that
just,
answer?
tutor books or something like that, basically.
Yeah, they're enrichment. They're there for you.
So if I
Um,
like the book enough to read all of it rather than just what you tell me to read, that's
mhm.
okay.
Definitely skim and read at your own pace, because you're not going to learn anything if you're just racing through. So I don't want you to do that. Um, but if you are interested in something, then check it out. Okay. A lot of you have other classes across from this one. And so I'm aware of that. And with COVID and everything, I've tried to reword some of the instructions, and hopefully you will have a stress-free month. If not, please bring it to my attention, because maybe there's something I can do about that. And I would really love to know what that is. All right, so that's an open invitation to anyone. There'll be no coding. It's basically web design. You're going to be designing layouts for your pages and things like that. The weekend assignments, you should dedicate some time to those, probably 7 hours to 14 hours. For those of you who are in MCBS, you know what Friday Blend is. It's where the media communications program comes together. And we also have friends from other programs who join us too, because anybody is welcome. So if this is something you're interested in, then you'll want to go to the wearemcbs.com site. There's a virtual events calendar. We are coming up with events all the time. We rarely duplicate one. We really try and tailor it to whatever's going on and to what our students need at the time. So check it out. It's offered by instructors. They're basically workshops. Sometimes they're just fun. The Gigantor, that's just a 30-minute get together. Anybody who needs FaceTime with people, that Jason covers that. And he's a lot of fun, very creative, casual. And so it should be, a pleasant experience for you if you want to try it. And those are on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 o'clock. The late policy, you will receive a 72-hour extension from the due date that's on FSO. If you make a written request, then you will have no penalty. Please don't make it at 10 o'clock the night that it's due. Any reason? There's so many things going on. But past 72 hours, the assignment can only be submitted for feedback. Fair? It receives a 0 after 72 hours. Without written requests, then there's 10% off. You still get 72 hours, still can only get feedback and receive a 0 after 72 hours. I would like you to make your written request in the assignment feedback, because then when I go to grade, I will see it. If it's in a message or an email, I will not be able to remember necessarily that you asked for an extension, okay? But it will be there if you post it in the assignment feedback. So I appreciate that. Week 4, I prefer you have nothing late. And that's for 2 reasons. You need to be able to move on to your next class. And your instructor needs to have your full attention also. So I would rather you be wrapped up, able to focus 100% on your next class after this one, okay? So I prefer there be no late work week 4. If you have accommodations, make sure that you have sent your letter. You can send that in an email. Who in here has already had a chance to look at the 10 Commandments of the web? Good. There is a video on your dashboard. Would anyone like to define UX and UI? They're simple and straightforward, and I wouldn't want anybody to be confused by them simply because they haven't heard what it is. UX is user experience. And we're going to talk a lot about that when we're creating a website, and it has a lot to do with your brand. The UI is the user interface. Your website, your computer, all of that, your phone, your screen, all of that is the user interface. But a user interface can also be your washing machine. It's anything that you interact with. It's that thing, okay? The difference between UX and UI is that the user experience is everything. It's an umbrella. So when you think of Apple's user experience, what comes to your mind?
It's easy to learn.
Hmm, right. The usability. Anything else come to mind as soon as someone mentions Apple? Anybody? What's the first thing?
iPod, iPod.
Uh-huh, iPod, interesting. How easy it is to work with it. Their Genius Bar is part of the user experience, right? Whether or not you can go online and make an appointment, that's part of the user experience. Whether you have a good experience with their product, that's part of it. Their brand, all of that is the user experience.
Command key versus what was it? Alternative alt key
Uh-huh.
or something.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's how you relate to their brand. Okay. The user interface is simply the device, right? It's just simply what we're interacting with. Okay. So the UI is part of the UX. This month, you're going to create your sites, but you're also going to, around week 4, review a peer's site. And so I want to make sure I mention this right away because it frequently comes up. If the person after you in the roster, and that's the person you're going to review, if they haven't submitted their work, you're going to move to the next person. And you're going to keep doing that. All right. If you happen to be the only person, contact me and I can send you a link from a larger class. I get emails on this and they get slowed up, and can't start their project. So that's what you do. I'd like to just to get to know you quickly. And so I asked this question. If you could do anything at all and it was impossible to fail, what would you do?
Well, I guess I said it before. I think I would create my own show with
Mhm,
people that I know,
mhm,
people that I'm actually close to.
right. Do you want to tell them a little bit about the show?
Right. Um, it's like a sitcom, like Friends, like Full House, except it is exactly like that.
That's a great goal. Why not?
Yeah, I guess.
Why not create a virtual like that right now with your friends? You could have title sequences, you can have an opening, and you can have a script and act it out. Jason was talking about the possibility of having plays on Zoom or what have you.
I've
So,
heard of it.
yeah, think about it. Who else? If you could do anything at all, and if you want to be a basketball player, it's fine. Doesn't matter how tall you are, doesn't matter how much experience you have.
So I think I would travel the world, like creating content.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that, and you totally can do that. Very doable. What do you think you would call that? If it was a service that or something you did, would it be like um, a travel blog? Would it be
Photography and videography.
okay? Okay, great, perfect. That's what you like to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you don't have to say these things just because you're in a media degree. You can really. Some people say soccer or basketball. They want to be on the NBA. Okay. Chris, what would you do if you could do anything tomorrow? You woke up, all your bills were paid, you had all the resources in the world, there was nothing you couldn't do, and it was going to succeed. What would you do?
I would probably open a bookstore. Kind of wanted to run a bookstore or something like that.
Well, that's interesting. That's probably going to come back like vinyl.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. I mean, there's some nice little mom and pop ones that are around where I live, but
Hmm.
something I've always thought of. But my kind of like path right now is to become like a librarian. So,
Hmm. That would be cool. That would be fun to travel the world for looking for really special books.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Catherine.
Honestly, if I could do anything and it wouldn't fail, I would actually take the web show that I have and make it into like a full production.
Mm.
Um, it's more like a talk show kind of
Mhm.
a thing on the web right now.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it be like a full-blown production. So
And what is it called? What's the name
my
of it?
web
Does
show
that
is actually called The Late Night Nerd Show. Interview people in the nerd community from all walks of life. So I've interviewed people that are starting off and well-established people and everybody in between.
That's really interesting. What a niche. Okay, I just love finding out things about you guys, and it really helps. It helps as we're working through your site. Um, I want you guys also to be thinking about 3 obstacles. I know I said that uh, you have all your resources, but some of these are just so legitimately possible. I want to know what your obstacles are. Meanwhile, Luis, if you could do anything in the world.
I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the anime Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball, Dragon
Hmm.
Ball Super, and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. Well,
Yeah.
have you heard of the horrible film called Dragon Ball Evolution?
Yeah, we don't talk.
Okay, well, I think the class knows. I think the class is very well aware of that horrible massacre of a film. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mwah. I love you all. Mwah. All right. Anyways, you said, right? I think we all heard that she said, I will succeed in this. Okay,
Yes, you
cool.
will.
Okay. Basically, I love the story to death. And so when I saw Dragon Ball Evolution, I hated the film to death. I really did. I was just like, excuse me? He is dying for the Dragon Balls and for fighting. Okay. But I feel like if I was destined for success for sure with this, I would be able to talk to the company and be like, listen, I'm an amazing writer. I have the skills for this. I have these 3 stories to make a trilogy for Dragon Ball Z. Okay. For the Frieza saga, for the Cell saga, and
Hmm.
for the Majin Buu saga. You have
Hmm.
9 films ready. We're gonna kick the Marvel sagas behind, okay? $2 billion, my butt. You guys are gonna have $15 billion, okay, with all these sagas together, okay? You're gonna get it with my screenwriting, but your production value, okay? We're gonna have the best actors, and you know what? You guys do this, okay? I got the writing down. We're gonna make this work, okay? It's gonna be
Okay, I have
perfect.
a
We're gonna get
question. Do you already have these written? I'm just curious because I'm
I
convinced.
I cannot. Okay, I have 20 plus years ready of stories set in stone already. The
Hmm.
first, I already have all the summarizations, the pitches ready, the beginnings and endings set in stone. But the thing is,
Yeah.
I don't know how to market them. With my first book, when I graduated, it didn't succeed because the marketing failed. That's why I wanted to join media communications, so I knew.
Well, you convinced me.
Well,
So
I convinced you on how to get it into to start a project, but I didn't convince you on selling a book.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
All right. Have I asked everyone? I think I've asked everyone. Really interesting stuff. So I love hearing about what you love and trying to figure out how we can somehow marry that with your site or with some of the goals that you may have. Right? All right. So having said that, what it is that you do. Now, all of you have things, many things maybe that you do, but you probably have something that you have at least 3 examples of. Sometimes students get confused about what a tagline is. It's not a slogan. It's not like Nike's "Just Do It," right? And the reason is we're not Nike. Nike doesn't have to put athletic apparel and gear because everybody knows it's Nike, but we do. So our tagline is what we do. So let's say I'm a graphic designer. My tagline is going to be graphic designer. Okay, so I'll have my logo or my name or my font, whatever it is, and then with that, graphic designer. That's my tagline. That's my service. So some of you, it might be screenwriter. Some of you, it might be photographer, videographer, storyteller, media creator. As you're thinking about what your tagline might be, we want to make sure that your message supports it and your work examples support it. This is your professional site. I don't encourage anyone to put something on there that they don't want to do more of. Now, there is a time and a place for that. If you really need to get a job, you need to think about that, then yes, put the old, tried and true with examples. But at the same time, I want you to think about, what do you want to do? Because if we don't tell people what we do, they will tell us what we do. They will make assumptions, and they will be well intended, but for whatever reasons, they will plug you in their brain as to who they think you are, unless you tell them who you are. So you can tell them anything you want, right? Because you're in charge of that. But you do have to eventually have the works to support that. Okay. So this week, I guess you'll be looking for at least 3 to 6 examples of your tagline works, and you'll write your about page, your about section, 3 or 4 paragraphs, and that will have to support your tagline and your examples. This is just for this. This is just what I want you to be sure you leave with, right? Ideally, in your message, the last line, you're going to talk about what it is you really want to do, whether you have experience or not, right? Your last line is, my goal is to, what I would love to do, what I'm crazy about, or whatever, right? These things that you're talking about, because when somebody hires you for one thing and they find out that there's something else you're good at or that you love to do, they're going to think about you when that opportunity comes up. Okay, so don't discount something that you want to do because you're not there yet, or because you don't know how to get there yet. Almost everything is a job, or a job can be created for it. Okay, so this is where we're going with that.
Are we posting this on our Wix page already, or is this something we're posting on the Full Sail homework page to you?
Get 2 weeks for a soft launch of that. Week 4, you're going to go back with the feedback I give you, which will be video feedback. If it's late, you guys, all of you, if something is late, you won't get video feedback, because chances are I've already started the process and I'm editing and all of that. And I tried doing it the other way, and I was just a stream of, videos that I was making for late work. So you'll get feedback for sure, but it won't be video. But the class will get video feedback, Louise, and then you will resubmit that week 4. So you have 3 weeks to work on your fictitious site to be able to get it where you want it. When you do work on your draft, it's not required to be complete. A lot of people in your stage don't feel like they have a lot of work, or they may have a ton of work. Just depends. When you come here, you'll be able to see them present their professional sites that they're working on. They have, some of them may have continued to work on it, but they usually have just that 1 week skeleton draft that they did when they were where you are. For your first assignment, you're going to create an ad. Here are just a couple. So you'll watch the video, and then you'll create an ad based on the content that you'll find in that Google. Everything that you need is in there. You can use other images, okay, as long as they're copyright free. I do want to make sure everyone knows the sitemap, remember, is simply the outline of the pages that are going to be on your site, and a list of those things, those common things that you think you're going to put on that site. A sitemap can be like this. It can be an outline, or it can be a flow chart. It's really up to you, as long as you're communicating to a client what the pages are. And like I said, if you want to get more detailed, you can. If you don't have a blog, then you're going to disable any template that has a blog. We only put live and completed pages. So that's what a sitemap is. And then the wireframes simply diagram the sitemap. Okay, if you've got a contact page, what's that going to look like? Oh, it's going to look a little bit like this. And on that, we don't have anything except wires. We only have blocks to indicate where something would go. No real text, no images, no color. Okay? And there's a reason for that. You don't want to turn the conversation towards content yet. You don't want them to look at an image and say, oh, I get what you're saying, but I don't like this image, when that's not really what you're trying to get approval for. So your communication tools, the sitemap and the wireframe, to help them see what those pages are going to be like. Always try and reduce clicking and scrolling. So if this seems like a simple site, good. We don't want a lot of things to distract your user. They have no aesthetic elements like images or text. They just define the content area. They do have the navigation. What you'll want to do is create the home page and then duplicate it so that you have everything, your navigation. So you're just going to duplicate that page before you put content on it. Adobe XD is really great. I think it's very clean and lovely. If you choose to do that, just add another hour maybe. Have you used Adobe XD, or looked at it? It's not hard because there's not a lot of menus to it.
So is Adobe XD an online app instead?
It's in your Creative Cloud, so you can download it, and it's a web design and prototype tool. It will have templates for wireframes. These are good things for you guys in web to think about, because even though I'm not asking you to create one, when you do get hired by somebody to make a site, you'll be able to use that.
So should I test it out for like a home page and a contact page then?
Yeah, test it out. See if you like it. If you don't, you can use PowerPoint. You can use, Keynote. These are in Keynote.
When you go back up to the menu options there, like where it says home, work, about, I know like on my page where it has about, or maybe it'll say books.
Mhm.
And then under books, of course, there'll be a drop down of, like, for my book, The Revenge of the Five Outcasts,
Mhm.
that'll obviously be a sudden drop from books.
Mhm.
Is
You can
what
use,
do you do about that when it happens?
you'll list those. I don't, you
Like,
don't
what do
have
you
to
do about
make
some format like that though? Like, would
a
you
drop
want
down.
it?
If you had like about and you had a drop down, you're just going to keep going down,
Would you prefer it like that with that format, or how would you
Um,
recommend for
I
us?
prefer it however, whatever is easiest for you to understand and create. It
Okay.
doesn't matter to me. I will say this about drop downs, and this is for everyone. You want to be very careful that they don't cover content like headers, images. You want to be sure that they are necessary. We don't need to have a page that says in your navigation that says more and then the drop down, um, especially if there's only like 2 pages, and sometimes people put the contact in a more. The contact needs to be up there in a page, easily seen on the navigation. So if you don't need a drop down, it's better to avoid them. It's just extra clicking. Um, and like I said, they can really obscure some of the content sometimes. We want to minimize clicking and minimize scrolling. The page that says contact, they want to see contact right there. Okay.
Okay.
And we are going to beat
Yeah,
this
because
to death.
one of my former professors, she said that I had too much content. She said it was because I had a lot of books, but then I had art, and she said I needed to separate it. So, like, for
Mhm,
example, my book actually has art
mhm.
in it, and that art I drew.
This is something that happens a lot. Your challenge is to only put your best, and we don't need to duplicate, your model who is in the same place, wearing the same clothes with very similar pose. It may look different to you or to us when we create it, but we don't need that. We just need, and that's why I say 3 to 6 of your best works. I know you have more. I want you to have to drill down and get your best. And you'll be thinking about, why is it your best, Um,
Mm.
I have had people put everything on. They have a lot of images. They're not in a grid. They're just sort of scattered. And after really pulling some things out, streamlining the color selections, streamlining the fonts to just 2 fonts, one for a header, one for a body copy throughout the whole site, making sure everything was consistent. 2 students did that last month, and I couldn't believe, sometimes they ignore it when we say, you really need to do this. They did it. Their sites were so much better. They were really good once they did that. So you do have to, it's hard to edit when you have lots of stuff. What I tell people who to create content all the time is you should have a blog as a photographer or something. You're going to enter, I like seeing what camera you used. I like seeing what lens you used. I like those details, right? So that could be a blog post. Your illustrations can be a blog post, that talks about that book,
Okay.
So that is one way to keep it really organized. A videographer for concerts and weddings. Sometimes that has to be 2 different sites. Can you see why? It's a different user experience. It's a different target audience.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm really happy to hear where all of you are. What you will be doing is drafting a proposal. I think I've simplified the template a little bit, but that will be in your download. You'll have a template for your proposal. There's a reason we're not using Squarespace. I love Squarespace. But if you choose to use Squarespace, then you need to contact them and ask them to extend it for 5 weeks. Otherwise, I get broken links, expired links, and then I have to try and contact the student, and they think they've submitted it, so they're not looking for a response from me on that. And all you have to do is contact Squarespace and ask them and their support, and they will do that. Okay, tell them you're in a 4-week class, but extend that. What I want you guys to do, name your site before, last name, first name. This is how you share your Wix account or in your editor. You're going to go to Site, it's up at the top left, Get Feedback, Copy Link. And that's the link you're going to post. And this is all throughout the course this month, okay? You won't forget this. This link is also only good for 2 weeks. Squarespace trial is good for 2 weeks. Squarespace will not keep your content. Okay, so next year, if you were using Squarespace, Louise, next year when you got to where they are, your site wouldn't exist anymore if you were using a trial. But both are only good for 2 weeks, but the difference is you don't have to contact anybody to renew your link in Wix. You just do the same thing. Go to Site, Get Feedback, Copy Link. Okay.
Yeah, I'm already paying monthly for Wix anyways.
Okay, great. Great. So done deal. When you get your video feedback, you're going to duplicate your site. You're just going to hit, drop down duplicates, and you're going to rename that site, your duplicate, after with your name. So you will only revise your duplicated site. You're just going to give me your before link and your after link, and you'll be bulleting those changes. I don't want to see photos or images from the template. So let's not use Wix videos. Let's not use, for backgrounds. And I know this can be tempting, but let's try not to. You're going to make sure there's no placeholders. You're going to have a contact page. You're going to make sure that your navigation is working and that your social media icons are linked. Try not to duplicate social media icons. That is, sometimes you'll have the template and then you'll put others on. You'll have 2 sets, or you'll have a set at the top and a set at the bottom. 1 set per page. Make sure they're the same ones, be consistent. And at the bottom, you're going to update the copyright and your name. You're going to include one of these for those 3 to 6 images. You'll include your asset guide. I do like for you to have these titles. And I have a image that shows you how to do it, to use the heading 1 format for your sections here when you submit on the discussion board. If you use a password, make sure you set that to full sail, lowercase, so I have no trouble getting into your site. I don't really count off for this, but if you want to look at a peers and give them a little encouragement, that's good too.
Am I going to be able to see this for your
Yes.
classroom?
Yes, I am recording this for you right
but
now.
am I going to be able to see it? And
I'm going to post it in the archives. It will be with the live session.
okay,
Okay, so it's an archive.
thank you.
Mhm. So this is how you share your site. When you're in your editor, you're going to go to Site and Get Feedback. You'll also see Duplicate Site down here. So that should be pretty straightforward for you. And that is it. If you have any questions whatsoever on this, please contact me.